Hey, it's Bob St-Jacques again. It's time for another question. So this one asks, what are some tips for running remote performance reviews? Great question. So here I think we need to start with what are the best practices for regular reviews, right? And let's take them one by one and see what tweaks we need to make for remote performance reviews. So the first one, obviously, and you look at any list of how to conduct, fantastic performance reviews, will include a step called preparation. So, typically there's an exchange of information. The employee doesn't come in and, feel like they're ambushed, so to speak. They're given the reviews ahead of time. So their feedback, the manager's feedback, maybe some 360, and they're able to, absorb it and come to the conversation a little bit more educated. And in this case, when you're doing these remotely, you need to ensure that they do have all the information and maybe have a performance review meeting where they can ask questions ahead of time, clarify, and be prepared for the actual performance review conversation. So again, in terms of preparation, you need to do a little bit of extra work and do that sense check ahead of time before having the performance review conversation. The second one is, that last word that I use, conversation, right? So when you're having these conversations, remember, we lose a lot if we can't see each other. And also, if you're very close and you only see a face, you lose some of the body language. So I would say, I know it sounds a small and pedantic thing. However, I would try to ask the person when you're doing the video, both you and your employee are away so that you're able to see more of the person's reaction, bodies, expressions, and just general body language to, basically understand the whole communication piece. The third area that they suggest in terms of performing great performance reviews, especially with high performers, is high performers want more feedback. In general, 82% of employees, when we look at a global survey, 82% of employees want more feedback from their managers. The interesting piece is when they ask managers, only 14% were thought that they should be giving more feedback. So, in this case, especially when you're dealing with this, it's again, the employee has the information, they've prepared ahead of time, and so, cast it in terms of how they can improve in certain areas. So again, these are folks that are your high performers. Again, they want the feedback. They're looking for feedback, right? Being in the top 1 percentile is not good enough. They want to be in the top half of 1 percentile, right? Help them get there. The other piece too, that they talk about in terms of wrapping it up is, providing a takeaway. So, again, prepare this in advance. And, because again, when you look at the surveys and they said, hey, what did you think of your performance review? Depending on which study you look at, but it's upwards of 90% plus of employees find them useless, right? So what is the takeaway aspect of it? Is it a learning related takeaway? Is it a development related takeaway? Is it a performance related takeaway? And just make sure that you prepare that ahead of time and then coach them through what are the next steps they should take. So in short, to sum up, when you're looking at remote performance reviews, it's still the same framework that you should follow for live ones. However, keep in mind the communication aspect and the preparation aspect, because again, you're losing a lot of that face-to-face communication, things that you can see in terms of body language and so on.